so you've got your personal statement, you got your cover letter.
Yep.
Let's focus on the CV, because I know that is something that I get quizzed about a lot, about, how do I format my CV? What should I include? What shouldn't I include? Should I add images? What format should it be in? The crazy questions that I've had, and I've seen CVs that are like works of art, as in you could hang them on a wall because they look so good, but they don't actually explain the person.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's break that down. So with a CV, what should you include? What are the top priority things that you need to include in a CV?
Okay, so I would say the two key things that you need to get across with your CV is your skill set and your employment history. And one thing I see a lot on CVs that I really don't understand is people will put in their employment history and give very little detail as to what they did in those jobs. So they'll mention a firm, so that they might say, I worked for Joe Bloggs Marketing down the road. Great. What did you do there? And it'll just be work with WordPress or, work with a CMS system. That really doesn't give me anything to go on as to, where your skill set lies, what you're actually doing, what your experience is from working there. Right. Whereas if you said, we used to work with this type of industry and we did sites for, you don't even necessarily need to name clients. I work in an agency. There's a lot of NDA. Sometimes you're just not allowed to say who it is, but you can name the industry. You can talk about the type of project that it was. It was a portal. It was a landing page. Give some information about the sort of things you've achieved while you've been doing that. Don't bother with jobs that are completely outside the remit of the either the type of job you're going for or the industry you're in. So, for example, I used to collect glasses in a pub when I was in college. Nobody needs to know about that. Nobody wants to know about that anymore. I did, I was, when I first started, I was an IT assistant. Nobody really needs to know about that anymore. I leave the actual job on there so that it shows, this is when my employment started and this is my progression. But I don't bother with any of the, the things I did on there anymore because that's not relevant to the roles I'm going for now or the type of work I do now.
Well, I guess from that level, there is a cutoff point, isn't there? Where you just you list it so they are aware that you've done it, but you don't go into any detail as to what you were doing on a typical day to day. No. But particularly as a hiring manager, my time is limited. I may have 20 candidates to shortlist through the CVs. So I just want to know about the stuff that's relevant to the role I'm advertising and the role you're going for, not stuff that, not the fluff that you did before. We can cover that off at later stages if necessary. So unless there's something you've done that you think is either transferable or actually brings something extra to the role you're going for. Right. Maybe that you were working in a completely different industry, but there was an experience you had there that might lend itself to what you're doing, in which case, include it. But try and tailor your CV to the role you're going for as well. Okay. Right. So, okay. So if I was to, so you shouldn't carpet bomb companies with CVs left, right, and center that are all the same?
I would say probably not. I prefer to read about stuff that's relevant to the role I'm offering. Yeah. So if you've been, if you're going for a developer role, you've done some digital marketing and you've done some pay-per-click campaigns and you've run things like that. I don't need to know about that. Okay. The fact that you've just got a generic listed everything on, to me as a hiring manager means that you are literally that. You're carpet bombing. You're spray and pray. Yeah, you're not actually invested in the role that I'm offering. So why would I need to feel invested in trying to get you through the process when there might be someone else who's got a CV and a really nice cover letter that's tailored really well. Even if it's just tailored to the industry, it might not be tailored to me, but they might be going for agency work anyway, and therefore it shows an effort on the part of the candidate.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. It's I do feel though that it's a slightly different game when you're just coming into the industry, so you've never done web development before, or you've done web development, but you're just getting into the industry, because that is more. I don't want to. This is going to sound awful, but I think that there is more of a numbers game in the sense of the more exposure you have to companies, the better. But that does put an awful lot of overhead on if you're tailoring everything, curating everything to those companies. However, when you're saying that, though, on the other hand, when you are at a level, you're more choosy as to who you're going for.
Well, what I would say to that is that when you are first starting out, there isn't a lot of experience you've got. So therefore, you do need to put these extra things in to fill up a bit. So you're not going to have five or six companies where you're worrying about what's on there. It's there is where you really need to start thinking cleverly about, right, I haven't got a lot of experience in web development necessary. What can I show that, shows that I've got relevant skills that I can bring to this? And it may be, well, I used to work in a shop where I was dealing with complaints a lot. So I'm used to dealing with people, understanding what they need and finding ways to resolve. I've got problem solving skills. I've got, the communication skills. A lot of things that they aren't necessarily web development specific, but they show you've actually got something to bring to the table yourself. So, it's about being inventive and, a bit clever about that. But I agree. If you're just starting out, you've not got a lot on the CV, you do need to pad it out with information that may be useful. But at the other end of the scale, like you said, when you're getting to a point where you're picking and choosing, although you probably find at that point you're not looking for jobs, they're actually looking for you. But there you have got the opportunity to tailor things a lot more. But I think doing a basic cover letter, just saying something about, I saw your advert in X, I've looked at your company, I find it really interesting. You work with, or you do this, do that. I'd really be interested in, applying for a position. Something like that should only take you about 10, 15 minutes to do, but it will up your chances quite significantly, because it really does show that you've taken an interest in the role. And so from my point of view, I'm more likely to then spend a bit more time looking at the CV and working out the fit than if it's just a blanket, a standard generic, 2-pager that really doesn't tell me much.
Yeah. I totally get that. I guess it's all about being invested in the company that you're trying to go for, right? It's showing some it's showing that you're showing some interest effectively. It's just showing that I'm not just sending you a CV that I should give to everybody. I'm actually taking a little bit of time just to give you, just to give it a little bit extra thought, a little bit of extra attention, because that's the sort of thing that a hiring manager will also look at.